think about how you can turn it into a positive. And we can change this fear of our weaknesses into learning about ourselves and change it into growth. My name is Fiona. We're going to look at some of the most common questions, not all the questions, but just the most common questions that people have difficulty with. I've been doing interview preparation for about 7 years now. We've had a very high success rate. So with my examples here that I will give you, my tips, and with some preparation on your side, I'm sure you stand a very good chance of getting that position. We all know it is difficult to do interviews. We get nervous, we forget what we want to say, and sometimes you're doing it in a language that's not your own. That is even more difficult, and I feel that you can be incredibly proud of yourself when you can do an interview in another language. I'm also going to show you how to make it more positive in what you answer. I want you to be able to show some of your personality, yes, but more importantly, I want you to be able to show your skills so that you can motivate the interviewer, persuade them that you really are the right person, the best person for this position. So without any more talk, okay, let's move on to the questions that you could be dealing with in an interview. And let's look at the best possible answers that we can come up with together. Okay, this is the question that scares a lot of applicants. What are your weaknesses? Okay, the first thing I want to say about this is that we do all have a weakness, maybe more than one, if we're honest with ourselves. What you need to do with this is think about your weakness, or a few of them, like we did with what are your strengths. Bring it down to just one or two, okay? We don't want a long list for the same reason as the strengths. We don't want a long list. The important thing to remember about this one, same as strengths, is that we're also going to give an example in our answer. So we don't just want one word of what we think we're bad at, one word of an area that we are weak in. Okay. We want an example also to show how this has had an impact on something we've done. Particular projects, a particular job that you had, the position that you held. Most importantly though, you are going to take that weakness and you're going to turn it into a positive. When we accept that we have something that is wrong, something that we're not so good at, if we can learn from that, then we can turn it into a positive. Once you accept that you are not so good at something, this is a weak area. Think of an example where it has had an impact on what you were doing, but let's turn it positive. Make it positive in your example because we want you to show that you have learned from it, that you are working on it, that you have overcome it, that it is not a problem anymore, or if you still feel there's more that you can do, we mentioned that too. But the fact that you are aware of it and working on it takes that weakness and makes it more positive, and it then becomes more of a strength. You are the sort of person who can see that there is a problem here and you are working on it. You can always hear when someone is being honest about something. It's also easier to come up with examples and situations and talk convincingly about how you are changing that when it's something real, something true. Yeah. For example, I will tell you my weakness. I am stubborn. I did about 7 years ago accept that, okay, maybe I am a little bit too stubborn. I realized in a particular project, after struggling for hours trying to do something, that this was actually not benefiting the company. It was wasting my time. I spent hours trying to resolve it. And as determined as I was to fix it, it was not good time management. It was not a good use of my resources. And I needed to ask for help. And I got in someone else who was a specialist in a particular area, and the problem was resolved in an hour. What I have learned is that I don't have to know everything. I don't have to be able to do everything. Some people are better than me at certain things. And recognizing that has taught me to use my time much better, much more efficiently, and obviously it benefits the company. Think of something similar in your life. Think of your weakness. Think of a situation where you really had a problem with it and how it impacted you, and how did you learn from it? How did you recognize that and you now don't do it again? Okay, turn it into a positive. So think about your weakness, relevant to the company, of course, and the position that you're applying for, and think about how you can turn it into a positive. And we can change this fear of our weaknesses into learning about ourselves and change it into growth, something positive.